Now, I want to get a bit deeper into journalism in China. When I think it was 2020, when the Australian foreign correspondents who are living in China got kicked out, namely Bill Birtles, who was working for the ABC in Beijing, and Mike Smith, who was the AFR correspondent in Shanghai. And so now I believe Australia is in a position where it doesn't have any foreign correspondents over there, but evidently you are also a journalist, an Australian journalist who lives and works there.
And I'm not the only one. There are others. There are other Australian journalists living and working in China.
Right.
But perhaps they're more focused on the local audience. So, Australians don't know. I was
surprised about it reading about the articles in the sense that maybe it was just for foreign news organizations, or maybe they just maybe it's not true. Maybe there are more foreign journalists over there. But was it weird for you? Because I know in some of their testimonies that they give, they felt very caught up in like a political situation that potentially might have led to them being at least unsafe, or maybe they felt like they were under suspicion or whatever. Did you feel any or how did you feel about it as an Australian doing journalistic work in China during that time?
Honestly, when I first heard the news, I wasn't concerned at all. I've lived in Guangzhou for 10 years. I have a great relationship with my employer. It was only when people started calling me and texting me from Australia, asking me if I was okay, that I started to worry a little bit, because when a lot of people ask you if you're okay, if you're safe, then you start to question yourself. Am I okay? Am I safe? But in regards to what happened with them, I have nothing to do with them. We're not connected personally or professionally at all. So I can't really comment on what they went through and the specifics with why the ABC decided to ask them to, the ABC and the Financial Review asked them to return to Australia. But it didn't really concern me at all. And I actually had a conversation with my employers, and I told them about what had happened and whether I should be concerned. And they said, you've got nothing to worry about. Don't stress. And I basically, took that at face value, because we've worked together for 10 years and we have a great relationship. I think there's a lot of mutual respect between me and GRT and the people that I work with. So, I obviously I brought up the conversation. I asked whether I should be worried, and the answer was no. So I just went on with my life, and I do feel sorry for those guys, because from what I can tell, they really did enjoy their work in China, and they were really immersed in life in China, and had friends here and had plans here and things like that. And obviously I've read the articles published about their stories as well, and I get the sense that they were also sort of caught up in something political. So I don't know, I guess it's different being a foreign journalist working for a foreign media organization and being a foreign journalist working for a local media organization. It's two totally different scenarios.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I mean, I was lucky enough to meet Mike Smith once or twice when I was in Shanghai, and it's not it's a regular thing to do on this channel, is to take a slight dig at someone who's not on the channel when they don't have a time to defend themselves. But I just had a little disagreement with Mike one time where he felt like he was worried about, or at least critical of, let's say, political journalistic freedom in China.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked him about, Julian Assange and him being locked up for doing journalism on the Australian, American, and Western governments. Mm-hmm. And he said they're not, it's not the same. But, anyway, it's like China's got its thing where, and this is the next thing I want to ask you about, is kind of journalistic freedom and things like that and how you've felt about it. But I would also caution our viewers into believing that, Western countries have full journalistic freedom as well. So, sometimes we hear about the Great Chinese Firewall. If you read maybe a bit deeper, you'll see some things about like red lines or topics you're not allowed to cross in journalism. Often they're related to China's territorial sovereignty. You might have some lists of banned words you can't talk about. There's certain political topics which, don't get any airtime in China because they're politically sensitive.
Historical events.
What's been your experience with, how you've conducted your journalism in particular, and if you've ever come across sticky situations with regards to the political content, or if you've ever done political content?
Well, I'm actually just really happy with my niche in Guangzhou because I'm responsible for local news, local Guangdong news, and also a lot of expat-related issues. So in terms of journalism, I do a lot of interviews with fellow expats in China, and we sort of provide a service where we do provide news and commentary and also information to expats living in Guangdong, because actually Guangdong as a province has the largest population of foreign nationals in all of China. And Guangzhou truly is like a melting pot. People from all around the world, because you've got people from, I guess you would say, Western countries such as the United States, Canada, Australia. But then you've also got a lot of people from South America, also from Africa, Europe as well. So I think in Guangzhou, the expat population, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I think it's something like 60,000 or so. So there's a lot of us living in Guangzhou, and when it comes to news, my focus is mainly on expat issues. I don't tend to get involved in political issues. And when I read the news as a news anchor, not all of the stories have been not all of the stories have been written or produced by myself. So I'm just reading the news as a news anchor. I think that's pretty much the job of any news anchor around the world. But I also produce my own stories. I also write my own articles, and so I pitch ideas, and 99.9% of the time I get a yes. I have been censored twice, but that was because I swore on television. One time,
Fiona, you're gonna have to find that video.
One of those times it was in Mandarin Chinese, and I knew straight away that I said something wrong, and so I had to dub over that part before it was broadcast. And the second time it was in Cantonese, and I didn't realize
Cantonese too.
I'd said a naughty word in Cantonese, because my Cantonese is, not, it's terrible. I get by, but my Cantonese is terrible, and I accidentally swore in Cantonese, so I had to redub that part of the program as well. So
did you know you were swearing when you swore, or did someone say that was actually a swear word afterwards?
Yeah, so we filmed it. It was actually for a sitcom. So that particular scene was for China's longest running sitcom, which broadcasts on our network. And nobody said anything at the time. Everyone just laughs. Cantonese is a really expressive language. So, just in daily usage, people swear in Cantonese quite a lot, and it doesn't raise eyebrows. So obviously at the time, nobody thought anything of it. But then I guess when they went to edit the program and put it all together, they realized, this is not suitable to be broadcast on television. So I had to redub that section of the program. But, in terms of censorship, I guess I see China a little bit differently to perhaps people who would see themselves as outsiders, because I don't know, I guess in some ways China is a little bit defensive and closed when it comes to releasing information. But I work for a domestic station, so it's not difficult for me to access information and speak to the people that I want to speak to. I guess sometimes, in terms of the way you speak, in terms of language usage, the way you phrase things, sometimes you do have to be a little bit careful, because obviously China has its idea of what constitutes its sovereignty. And so as a guest in China, I respect that. I wouldn't challenge that. So I, when I report on stories and things like that, I would speak as though, according to the norms in China. And I've said it before. I'm a guest in China, so I'm happy to do that, because I think people should respect the laws and the norms of their host countries wherever they go in the world.
Yeah.